What's good, everyone? This your main correspondent, Alan Taylor, and I'm back in the broadcast room. So this is where we at now. We got one from the Lapeef Network, and the title says, "Women say the Bible is used to silence women, not correct men." So we're gonna go here now. We're gonna check this out, see what's going on. Quarters, nickels, and dimes, people.
Able to correct men's behavior. How often do we use the Bible to correct men's behavior? I see both face lit up and wasn't expecting this. Ty, I don't know. Ty just be, she can go either way. We don't know yet, but I want to kick this off first, man. How often do we use the Bible to correct men's behavior? Go ahead, Ann, since you volunteered.
Yes. Sorry for raising my hand like we're in class. I would say more often than not, we don't. We don't use the Bible to correct men's behavior. We use the Bible to show great models of masculinity. We often use the Bible to tell women when to shut up. But when it's about sexual discipline, being submissive to the Lord, and this balance between women and men that we see in Ephesians. Yeah, I don't think we correct men's behavior. And I'm also curious to know like how this even came up.
You just trying to move the goalpost, and just
My bad. I'm just
just relax. Just relax a little bit. You spoke. You said what you said, and some people may agree. They may disagree with you. What about you, Ty? How often do we use the Bible to correct men's behavior?
I don't think we use the Bible to correct men's behavior. I think more often than not, we may use the Bible to inspire men to, speak life into them or let them know they can power through situations. But I can't recall a time where it's like, oh, according to John, blah, 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 you should be doing this, that, and the third. We don't reprimand men through or by the Bible at all. I actually agree with Ann more where you would hear it more where women may be reprimanded using the Bible more than men are.
All right. What about you, Dr. Lady O? What's going on with the men? How come the men are not being corrected with the Bible about their behavior?
Yeah, I think maybe Ann may have said something. Yeah, they only correct the man when it comes down to him being the provider. But other than that, they really don't correct the man according to the Bible. But the woman, she really is corrected according to the Bible, especially with the word submissive. But the women don't use the word, submissive to the man because it says both of them should be submissive to each other. But the women never use that as reference. They don't. They should, but they don't.
I don't think it say men should be submissive to women.
Both should be submissive to each other. That's false.
I don't think it says that. You pull it up, but I believe it says
the word submission. But he is submitting. He is submitting to her. He actually submit to God. We got that part. But but it's still submitting to her. He still do. We can't. You don't want to tell the men that he don't have to do anything for the woman.
That's not what I'm saying.
That's not submission. You know what I'm saying? Yes, you're supposed to take care of your wife. You're supposed to honor your wife. You're supposed to take care of your wife like God loved the church. You're supposed to submit to God. She submits to you. The children submit to the whole dynamic, and that's how that's supposed to go. Now, if he's submitting to God, he can't submit to her. You can't do that. It's not even logical. His submission is to God. She submits to him, which he submitted to God. That's how that works. There's no way around that.
But submission is a different thing. And I think it said men should love the woman like Christ loved the church.
Right.
But I don't think it said men should submit to
but see, that's the thing. I just said it doesn't say the word submission, but you are submitting to your wife as well. Because when you're marrying her, you're only choosing to be with her intimately. You are submitting to her. You are going to her in need. When it's you're supposed to counsel your woman for everything. So if it's finances, you are submitted to her.
Ephesians 5 says, submit to one another out of reverence for Christ. Wives, submit to your husband, submit yourselves to your own husbands as you do the Lord. Husbands, love your wives just as Christ loved the church and give yourself up for her.
Right, but that's not submission. That's what we call sacrificing. That's sacrificing. That's not submission. Sacrificing is something totally different from submitting. When you give yourself up to her, you sacrifice yourself for her. That's the reason why you go out, you build, you gather resources, things like that. You're sacrificing yourself for her. You know what I'm saying? Submitting is not sacrificing. Those are two totally different worlds.
Is that what I said?
You also missed the part where they said
Yeah.
Which part I
submit
missed?
to one another.
It says to submit to one another.
Exactly.
That ain't what that means.
Duh, what?
Well, I'm not a Christian scholar. I'll go look it up.
Yeah, I think
Oh,
the confusion comes in the type of submission, right? The submission is different for the man and the woman.
Right.
The
Right.
man's submission, I think, in this case, is more like the sacrificing of themselves.
The sacrifice.
So what the French toast is there to think about?
Sorry, I'm cutting it down. Sorry, I'm stopping. But listen, look, what did I just say? I haven't even gotten this far off in the damn video yet. What did I just say? If you're the head of the household, you submit to God, she submits to you, the children submit to her. You know what I'm saying? You're leading the household. You can't submit to your wife if you've already submitted to God. You can't serve two masters. That's the whole point right there. The whole point of serving two masters, when you get deep off in the Bible and God tells you can't serve two masters. You can't submit to two different masters.
And their own needs for the betterment of the woman and their family.
Right.
Okay. Well, Ty, since you dropping these Bible verses on us, how often do we use the Bible to correct men's behavior?
You asked me that already.
I did. Okay. It's been a
Yeah,
long
and
day.
that was Ann dropping the Bible verses. I don't know it by heart.
We all don't look alike just because we're brown.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, go
Oh,
ahead, bro.
JR,
Go
come on.
on you then. How you feeling about this? How often do we use the Bible to correct men's behavior? We even had M. White. I'm pretty sure there's other men out here as well that may be not knowledgeable about what the Bible says, but they often may bring it up. So how you feeling about this question? Can you hear me, Bo?
I didn't hear you say Bo. I'm so sorry.
Oh, okay.
So we don't use the Bible to correct men. Maybe we use the Bible to make them feel guilty about adultery or some other things, but like there's nothing that we do with the Bible to actually like correct their behavior or encourage them to be better. We only do that with women, unfortunately. And I feel like men in particular have this misconception that the only thing that the Bible is used for is to tell people about this hierarchy or how men are supposed to rule over people. So it basically gives men power, but it does not hold them to the responsibility of that power. It does not correct them in their behavior and in that power. So we don't use the Bible at all to correct them.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. I wanted to piggyback off of what Bo said. I think it's not that the Bible itself doesn't hold men as far as like to the standards of which they're supposed to follow. It's that society doesn't, right? We choose not to do that as much as men would like to. Not even all men, right? Because all men, let's be honest, are not even into the Bible, just like Marcus just stated. he hardly knows it. A lot of men are Christian. They might be Muslim or something else or nothing at all, right? I think women, especially Black women, are the predominant audience of the church. And if we wanted to hold men to the standards of the Bible, it would be on us to do so. And I don't think we do it, right? Like, we don't do it enough. We would rather use it as a way to encourage and influence them. And it may be because we know that they're dealing with things on a day-to-day basis already. I don't want to throw this also on top of you, but if it's anyone who's like dropping the ball, it would be society or just women, right? That's actually holding men to the standard of the Bible.
I was thinking the same exact thing, because it's not that in the Bible there aren't instructions for both men and women. They're
Right.
there.
There
It's
are.
just the focus society. When it comes to how the Bible is utilized, society's focus is just not on both. But that's, like you said, not the fault of the Bible, it's the way in which we're. What do you think, Mr. Smooth?
You talking about the general question, right?
Of course.
Okay. You know what? I don't think that women explicitly use the Bible. I think that they indirectly may use some of the principles from the Bible, right? How women are expecting men to cover them, and none of this is wrong, right? But that's just how they communicate it. Most of what it is that we follow or would like to follow, right, is pretty much from the Bible, right? That's what.
Right, basically. So what Smooth is talking about here, and I had to let everybody get their situation out, their talking points here. And this is definitely true. When we're talking about the covering and all this type of things that women in today's society want from men, the protection, the financial stability, all that is, our society was basically built off of, you know what I'm saying, the Bible's rules and stigmas, and a lot of our laws come from the Bible. Thou shalt not kill, and all. Yes, it's illegal to kill people, things like that. It's a lot of our society's rules and also principles come from the Bible, and women expect us as men to do the same things that men of old done: provide, protect, make sure that the family dynamic is straight. But this is where it's at. So it's not like the Bible is not, correcting men, because and then it goes to also, like Ty said here, some men are not even religious like that. Some may be Muslim, Buddhist, whatever. So it's a complicated situation here. But for most women that are in the predominant, the Christian church itself, and holding those men to those, Christian values, excuse me, guys, which are in the Bible, then, it just is what it is. There is accountability for men in the Bible, period. A huge amount of accountability.
What's been instilled in us. Even if people aren't devout Christians, they still are following principles of the Bible in many cases, right? Just because of, the lineage just having Christianity behind it. So as far as the men's duties, they're expected to, they are expected to do for that coverage, whether it be financially, whether it be protection. These are what we're supposed to do. And then, like the Bible verses, it'll say that men are supposed to sacrifice themselves if necessary for their wives. It doesn't say submit. I couldn't find any explicit language that shows that men should submit.
No, because it's not that. You're supposed to submit to God, not anything else.
But it does say to be selfless and to love your wife. After it says submit, it said to love your wife. So
right,
with that, women are absolutely expecting us to follow Christianity at that point.
So the standards, in your opinion, for men are rooted in the Bible, and men are expected to maintain those expectations, that those biblical expectations. Is that correct?
Yes, and I don't see anything wrong with it. If it's actually rooted in the Bible, right? As long as the woman is prepared to fulfill her duties as is listed in the Bible.
Do you think fulfilling one's duties is noble if you don't actually have a relationship with God, or you don't understand why these structures exist anyway? Like, is it better to just do it because it's expected of you, or is it more, I don't know, is it
Rewarding
yeah, like,
to do it if you're doing it for God.
yeah, because mutual submission becomes a pleasure when you understand that relationship you have with God. But if you're just submitting because you're told to submit, it can feel oppressive, your submission, because you don't.
I mean, but listen, look, and this is the whole point right here. And you know, I get what they're saying, and I get what Ann is trying to say too as well. That's the whole point. Listen, look, marriage started out of, you know, what God put together. God put together the union of marriage. Now, when we got into this legal situation, as far as the state and government getting into family business and stuff like that, and then turning it into a business, then that's when all the religious side of it got pushed out. That's the whole big separation of church and state. You know what I'm saying? The state started coming up with rules and regulations for marriage and stuff like that, on top of, well, after the fact of what God had already put in place. And then now the state has these paperwork you have to sign in order to be legally married in society, so you could get certain benefits or amenities, whatever you want to say, you know what I'm saying? But it's trickery in the game. Yeah, we'll give you know, the state will allow you to have so much finances off and so many tax cuts and this and that, but you have to sign this piece of paper saying that you are legally married by the state and things like that. But at the same time, though, too, it's not honoring the marriage that you're supposed to have with the union of God. So the thing of this is if you don't have that union off top with what God is wanting you to have put together, then the marriage is technically null and void, because the union that God put together is the one that's supposed to be the predominant situation that's going on as far as the breakdown of how the family structure is supposed to work. The state just comes in and wants a piece of the pie when everything, you know, comes together, your finances, all this types of stuff. That's what's really going on. And that's the reason why we have the separation of church and state. You know, they're not honoring what the union that God made at first. They're taking the idea of what God made and turning it into a financial gain.
Does that make sense? Like, just doing things simply for duty's sake.
Men have no problem with that. We do plenty of
Really?
things for duty's sake. Yeah, absolutely. For the most part, yeah.
We do.
Men understand duty. Men,
Yeah,
that's
we
why
do.
men generally don't leave their relationships. That's why men generally don't divorce their wives. That's why statistically more men are likely to stay with the woman after adultery, is because men understand the duty. They want to be there for the kids. Yes, that's right, Bo. That, go look it up for real. It's right. Men understand the duty and they don't quit. That's what it is that we do, and most of it is by duty. Men will continue to support a woman financially that they hate. Men will continue to protect a woman that she might hate. He might be in a miserable marriage, but doesn't quit because he understands his duty and he's following what he thinks is right, whether that's foundationally from the Bible or not, right? Whereas women are more likely to flee a relationship for any reason whatsoever. So yeah, men absolutely understand that, and we don't feel oppressed. We just understand our obligations. We don't throw a whole bunch of feelings into it, right? If we understand duty and we understand what our purpose is, what is our purpose here? maybe it's not for marriage. And if that's not the case, then don't get married. Don't involve people in what it is you got going on. I'm not saying that everybody needs to get married. I'm never going to push that for anyone. But I'm saying if you do, then stick by it. Don't get into a situation and then flee. Know what you're getting into, understand it, research, see what it's like, and marry somebody who's compatible with you, not because they got a bag, not because they look a certain way, not because they got the D that you like. How about you get with somebody who's going to align with you, that whose principles you could follow?
I think
Hey, listen, look, yo. He definitely broke it down. We, you know what I'm saying, we heard a little bit and things like that from, you know what I'm saying, definitely each side, you know, and this is just the facts here. The thing of this is yes, most men, we do understand the duty aspect of, you know, the human psyche, who we are as men in society and things like that. Of course, it's not all men. I have to say it's not all men or all women. We supposed to understand that, you know, but it's true. And for the men that do understand the duty, it is what it is, though. It's clearly there. The men that are following the quote unquote, you know, Bible and things like that, that are understanding the duty. And like I said, though, the fact that we do live in a society that was built off of religious, you know, lifestyles and stuff like that at first. Now it's, you know, way more relaxed. We don't uphold those, you know, standards and things like that in the Bible and stuff like that, like how we used to as a culture, you know, decades ago. But this is where it's at too. And also men, we still have that, you know, in us. And also society does still hold us accountable for, you know, being a man, doing the things that men are supposed to do. Traditionally going forward into the future, you know, women have relaxed on their side of on their end of the duties, but you know, men are still, you know, basically made to do these things. We have no choice. Society will collapse, and this is the point that we're at here. And it's just the fact of the matter. We cannot negate that the Bible still is holding men accountable, because, you know, men are still obligated to, you know, love the woman like they love the church, like God loved the church. And we're still obligated to, you know, protect and cover women. We're still obligated to, you know, provide, and also, you know, just make sure that, you know, the women folk of the planet are taken care of like it's always supposed to have been. But this is where we at here, man. And, you know, regardless of what people want to say, they're saying that, you know, the Bible really doesn't hold men accountable, but I don't see it nowhere in society where men aren't held accountable. And if that's the case, then the accountability that men are being held to in today's society and in the past has always been the same accountability that the Bible has told men to do. Let's just be honest.
So what the French toast is there to think about?
But it is what it is, though. Shout out to all my subscribers. Mad love to y'all. If you're new to the channel, please hit that like, share, subscribe button. Make sure you ring that bell to be notified whenever I decide to post things. And like I always say,
and that, my friends, is the bottom line.
That, my friends, is the bottom line.